I think we all knew it was bound to happen. I mean, it was bound to happen eventually. For some people, they've already jumped off the ship. They said Star Wars is dead, it's gone, it will be missed. But then there are those like me that said, no, it's not dead yet, it's still on life support, it's still alive, there's still one thing that is still holding us to watch more Star Wars, and that is The Mandalorian. When The Mandalorian came out, it was a smash hit, it was a great show, people want to know more about the Mandalorians, especially their culture, where they come from. It felt like we were actually getting that. And the adventures of Din Djarin and Grogu, they were so much fun. And then season 3 happened, and I think we can guess where it's going. I mean, I think we have figured out where they're going with this. I mean, they did want a Bo-Katan storyline in on herself when it comes to having her own show, but since they keep canceling movies, TV shows because the direction they're leading Star Wars is just not working, you kind of have to roll the dice here. And it looks like right now that they want Bo-Katan to have her own storyline, but instead of giving her her own show, they're just going to switch the Mandalorians around because that's not going to make anyone mad, right? Anyway, and I'm not really totally surprised by this decision. I mean, the TV shows and movies that they've been coming out so far. I mean, when Star Wars announced that The Force Awakens was coming out, I remember it was a big uproar. Everyone was so excited. It's the same big uproar when the prequels were coming out. I remember when I was a kid, people got so excited. People were lining up to go see it in the movie theater. Wasn't exactly everyone's favorite movies, but they still went to them. and then Star Wars came back when Disney bought the property, and suddenly that excitement came back. People were camping out in the movie theater, even out here in the middle of nowhere. People have been camping out at a movie theater, just waiting for Star Wars to finally open up. Then when The Force Awakens happened, it had potential. It had a storyline that people were really interested in, and then came the most controversial Star Wars movie ever made, and that is The Last Jedi. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but most of all, people just didn't really like the direction they were going. It didn't feel like Star Wars. They feel like that it's just going in the wrong direction. And for some people, I mean, they are hardcore Star Wars fans, that they will love this movie simply because it has the name Star Wars on it. So, whatever you like it or dislike it, that's not really my choice. And then The Rise of Skywalker happens, and that was one of the biggest disappointments in Star Wars history. I mean, the prequels were not exactly everyone's favorite movies when it came to the original movies. However, it did end on a high note, so the prequels got that. And after watching those movies, I have more respect for the prequels now, because at least with the prequels, you have also the Clone Wars and Rebels, because after watching the prequels, you know that the Clone Wars was a story that we all wanted to see, so the Clone Wars was very popular, and the fact that Rebels takes place after Execute Order 66, we wanted to see that too. We got that. It was fantastic. And now we have these new shows in which we were excited about them going into new directions, coming up with new stories. And The Mandalorian was one of those stories. And then and just to add insult to injury, they also came out with Rogue One, just to cover up a plot point that people always question about the fourth movie. Okay, that happened. It was very popular, most because Darth Vader came back on the screen. And then Solo: A Star Wars Story happened, and that was not exactly a fan favorite, so that's when they stopped doing that. And then you have the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, in which I think the only reason people really watched that show and loved it is because of the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader scenes. We wanted to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. Basically, they were the driving force of the prequels, and their clash in the original movie is just iconic. So it's great to see them back on screen, but with everything else that was in that show, it was just filler. It's something that people were not interested in. Also, to go back to Kenobi, can you really see that show getting a season 2? Because it feels like it wrapped up the way it did, and we don't really need a season 2. And the thing about The Mandalorian that also gets under people's skin was the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett had promise, it had potential, especially with Boba Fett getting out of the Sarlacc pit. But instead of getting out of the Sarlacc pit and acting like the bounty hunter that we all know him to be, it basically looked like a man who is suffering through a midlife crisis. And on top of that, there were 2 episodes where he's barely even in it. They go back to Din Djarin and his adventure, which is all stuff that we should have seen in the Mandalorian season 3. But hey, they have to find some way to get people to watch the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, it's Boba Fett. How would people not watch it? It makes no sense. It's about as annoying. Remember from the Arrowverse where it kind of looked like they had a good formula going with several shows. They go back and forth, but you can watch every single season and feel like you haven't missed anything. I miss those type of TV shows. And then a bunch of other shows came out. More of them came out. And then they had those mixed up episodes where you need to watch this episode from this series first, and then this episode in that series next. And once when you get to those episodes, you're like, where the heck did this come from? And after it wraps up and it goes to the next episodes, you're like, what? I really don't like those shows. It feels like it could have been its very own standalone movie or TV show in general. So the fact that the Book of Boba Fett pulled that move, I would understand a lot of fans that feel a little bit lost when it comes to The Mandalorian Season 3, with Grogu being back in the picture and they're going on their adventures, or at least that's what we thought it was going to be. And now it looks like they're going to switch the main characters, and just making that decision alone, I can officially say that, yep, you don't care about storyline anymore. All you care about is this political message that people are so tired of hearing right now. And this was also the very first time where they introduced 3 new Star Wars movies, and I've seen nobody excited for it. This is a big change of pace. And with that happening, I can guarantee you that Star Wars is just no longer the franchise that it used to be. At one point, Star Wars used to be the thing that got people to go to the movie theater. Even the Marvel movies had that same formula. Whenever a movie came out, people made it a holiday to go see it. Now, with this new direction that they are going in, they basically feel like the same thing, the same storyline. So what is the point if you're just going to follow the same storyline over and over and over again? It did not work for Marvel, and it's definitely not going to work for Star Wars, because already this crowd that wants to watch it is shrinking down. And for a lot of people that always collect Disney Plus simply just to watch The Mandalorian, I would not be surprised if they all turn it off. But anyway, those are my thoughts on The Mandalorian and why I say farewell to it, because I'm so tired of this direction that they try to keep pushing us into. I'm tired of the nudging. I'm tired of the talk downs. All I want to see is a good Star Wars story and a pleasant adventure to go along with it. And it seems like they don't have that anymore. But guys, those are my thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 3, but also why I'm saying goodbye to The Mandalorian as well. It's sad. I don't want to say goodbye to it. I was really hoping this would be a show that I would binge watch, but it just feels like it's going into a direction that I'm so tired of looking at. But anyway, those are my thoughts. So whatever you thought, comment them down below. Also, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share my videos as much as possible so I can get monetized enough to challenge other reviewers to do the 1001 movie challenge that I am doing currently. And I'll see you in the next video.